Now that Legacy is fully upon us, I thought it would be fun to take a quick look back at the War for Cybertron trilogy, what I collected from it, and my favorites. This was definitely a huge line for me in terms of how many I purchased compared to the previous years. During the Prime Wars trilogy line, or whatever it was called, I didn't really watch the media, I only collected a handful of figures, but I collected a lot from these lines, as you can see. And so here we go, I'm just going to run through my War for Cybertron collection here, starting on the left with Titan Scorponok. He's big, he's bad, I wish he came with his gun, but he's nonetheless awesome. Scorponok was a Titan that I wasn't originally planning on getting, but after I got Omega Supreme and I felt the build quality of the new Titans and how tight their joints are and how posable they are, I decided I had to get him. I will say that when I revisited Titan Metroplex the other day and Fortress Maximus, I felt like I kind of missed some of the electronics and features of the older Titans, but like I said, the build quality is really awesome, the posability is awesome, so I still enjoy him. I feel similarly about Unicron. He's really an impressive feat of engineering. He's enormous. Looking at the old Unicron, of which I have 4 of that mold, they're a lot of fun. They have tons of electronics, hidden compartments and everything, and this guy just doesn't have a lot of that. Nonetheless, I knew I couldn't miss out on this Unicron. Felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a figure like this. I'm happy with him, I love the way he looks in planet mode. I don't regret purchasing him by any means, I think he's a lot of fun. I just kinda wish he had a little bit more to offer. Omega Supreme is a Titan that I definitely wanted, but I didn't know how much I would like him until I got him. I think his build is just amazing. I love his posability, I love that the head has way more posability than previous Titans. He's extremely sturdy. His claw is awesome, his vehicle base rocket mode is awesome. Even though he also lacks any kind of electronics or qualities of the older Titans, I don't know, there's just something about him. He's just well executed, very posable, very solid and satisfying to hold and transform. I like the little mini compartments here they added to his legs. Overall, he's a lot of fun, and I'm very, very glad I did not pass on this guy when he was at a reasonable price because I've seen the prices go up. Among Scorponok, the Ark, Unicron, and him, he's easily my favorite big guy. Next I have the Ark, who I have displayed in ship mode because I like that better. I have to say, if the Ark did not come with this transforming Teletran 1 guy, I'm forgetting the name they gave him right now, but if they did not come with him, he wouldn't be a very good Titan in my opinion. But because he comes with him, I think it's an overall pretty decent value set. I do wish it had some better things, like guns that turned here, or some panels that covered up this section of the ship, but nonetheless, he's also a great build with lots of posability. It's also frustrating to see that he doesn't have, like, movable fingers. I'm guessing that most of the budget went to this guy, and I guess that's okay because he's a big highlight and a lot of fun for me, but the Titan himself does feel a bit lackluster. I'm still happy that I got him though, because just this mode alone makes it worth it in my opinion, and this guy's just an awesome bonus. Then I have some core class figures here. Core class Optimus and Rodimus are awesome. I've really been surprised with how much I've loved the core class figures. They're super high quality. I love how posable they are, and their size is great. Over here I've got Nemesis Prime. I love that he came with just a bonkers amount of accessories and these giant guns on his arms, the trailer and everything. He felt like a great value for the $50 Netflix price. Then we have all of these Seeker molds. Red Wing is the first one I got, and I still think he kind of maybe looks the best. It was a great idea to make him a Target exclusive because of the brand synergy with those colors. And yeah, I really like him. The Rainmakers are super cool and colorful from afar, but I was always disappointed at how they have the exact same battle damage on them. I think they could have been much, much better if they had just varied the battle damage a little bit. Same with all of the Secret molds, to be honest. Skywarp I was lucky enough to find from a local seller for about $40, which was an absolute steal compared to what he was going for on eBay. And then not too much to say about Starscream and Thundercracker, they're about what you'd expect. I've got G2 Ramjet here in the back. His paint job is super cool, but I'm very glad I only got one of that mold because it's not a very great mold in my opinion. It feels kind of outdated compared to the rest of the figures, so yeah, kind of glad I only got one of this guy. Then we have Kingdom Cyclonus. This is like almost a perfect figure in my opinion. The transformation is so satisfying. He has no kibble in either mode. He's posable, painted well, he has cool light piping, just everything about this figure. It's nearly perfect. Can't recommend him enough. Then I have the Earthrise Megatron mold back here, the Netflix version. I actually don't really like this mold at all, but the Netflix spoiler pack version was on clearance for $16 and I couldn't pass it up. My first taste of the mold was with the 35th anniversary cell shaded version over here, who is not bad. I love the cell shading, it makes him very unique, but again, I can't say I like the mold at all. I'm super tired of the whole Generation 1 Megatron, but with tank kibble on him. It's very old and tiring. I think Combiner Wars looks better, I made a whole video about it, but yeah, he is what he is. Galvatron, I remember how much noise this guy made when he first came out. Everyone was complaining about the shoulders. I made a video talking about the shoulder fix, people don't like the paint job, but for me, he was always just a pretty cool Galvatron. I was happy to finally have a G1 Galvatron. I didn't think he was perfect. I think his proportions are a little wonky. Of course, the shoulders were a pain, But yeah, he's cool. Then we have Spinister, who is another figure that I was just surprised with how good he is. I think his transformation is super clever and fun. He's very posable. I like that his guns are different colors. Everything about this guy is great. He's another underrated figure of the line. Shattered Glass Optimus. After looking at the Shattered Glass masterpiece for a long time, I was happy to finally have a more affordable version for a great mold, great scale. Shattered Glass Ratchet is just here because he came with Optimus. I really don't like this mold either, especially the way the entire roof of the van just comes off as a shield and uses parts forming, but hey, there he is. Nemesis Primal I got technically from the Bumblebee line, but since Optimus Primal is in it, I included him here. And both he and Optimus Primal are really great molds as well. I was surprised they not only included both swords, but they include both arm cannons and both shoulder cannons, and of course the posability is there. Pretty much everything is there on this Optimus Primal mold, and I'm really happy with both of them. I didn't have particular interest in the Nemesis Primal mold, really, but when I saw the paint job in person, I had to pick him up. He looks really spectacular. Then we have Shockwave, who I just display in normal mode without all of his extra parts. I liked the extra parts when I first saw them, but I don't know, they got really old to me. They're not as good as they could be, and I prefer to just display him in his G1 mode. Though I will say I've had a lot of fun with his extra parts, combining them with other figures, so I can't complain about them. Then we have good old Siege Soundwave. Now I think this guy gets so much hate for reasons that I love him. I love the battle damage glass. I think it makes him look so interesting and gritty. I don't mind the yellow visors, though I would agree that it would be better if they were red. And I love his barge mode. I think it's super cool that they gave him such a G1-esque robot mode, but managed to give him an original Cybertronian mode that in my opinion looks kind of cool. The figure is super posable, very well sculpted. He has his cassette gimmick anyways, even though he doesn't have the cassette form, which is cool. And yeah, I think this figure is so overhated. I will defend this guy forever. The cassette one, on the other hand, is really boring to me. Moving on, we have Skytread, who I don't have much to say about. He's cool. He has the name that fits. He's got tank and jet mode. Cool, neat, posable. Same thing with this guy. I can't even remember his name right now. I want to say Brunt? I don't know. I'm a bad Transformers fan. I buy them and then I forget their names. Anyways, he's cool. He's not the best weaponizer in my opinion. I actually like him better by himself. He has a really cool drone look that kind of reminds me of the Decepticons from the 2004 PS2 game, which I love. So he's cool in that respect. Just a cool little, kind of generic looking dude, and the genericism is kind of his charm for me. Then we have Beast Wars Scorponok. Not too much to say about him either. I think he could have benefited from being a little bigger because of how easy his legs pop off, but I like him. I'm a sucker for his big claws. We have Beast Wars Megatron, who I'm displaying right now in his beast mode. I was pretty impressed with this figure. I thought the size is awesome. The fact that he has, opposable jaw, and just everything feels like it's done right for this figure. He feels pretty impressive in size and posability for his price point. Then the last Decepticon is Astro Train. He's one of those figures that feel like it's justified being a leader only because he has a bunch of extra parts. I do like his base mode a lot, but I wish he was better painted. I think he feels very drab. I would have liked some details here on the chest or somewhere else. I plan to get the repro labels upgrade for him soon. But yeah, he's cool. I think the mold is really cool. And the extra parts I can't really complain about, except there's two guns that feel a bit unnecessary. My main complaint with him is that I think he should be better painted, and overall he just does feel a little small, even though I kind of acknowledge that the extra parts are FD and necessary. He's just not the most satisfying leader for me from the line. Unlike Ultra Magnus, who I also love and will defend and think is overhated. I think it's so cool that they gave him a G1 robot mode, but managed to give him a more interesting vehicle mode that was an homage to Robots in Disguise 2001, and I think he looks great in robot mode. I also don't mind any of his battle damage. I think his battle damage looks pretty nice. I love the silver chips on his chest especially. Everything about this figure is great to me. Kind of the same for Double Dealer. I haven't heard a lot of bad complaints about Double Dealer, but I've seen a lot of people be pretty lukewarm on him. I think he's pretty exciting. I think it's really cool how they pulled off all three modes. You could transform him from robot to vehicle and almost never know that the bird mode was hidden inside of him, which I think is really impressive. He also manages to be completely posable while having three modes, so pretty unique figure. I guess technically Astro Train pulls off three modes too, but this guy's three modes feel a bit more unique. Plus his alliance changing gimmick he has here over on the shoulders is pretty cool and unique. And he's got the cassettes, of course. So I quite like Double Dealer. I think he's another underrated leader. Then we have Optimus himself, and I've got this Optimus wearing all the weaponizers from the line. I love all of the weaponizers, but I think they look better when they are applied to another figure. Optimus himself is a great mold, but he leaves a little bit to be desired just by that back kibble. It's really cool though that they basically miniaturized the MP10 and made it into a mainline figure. It was also awesome that it gave us these opening hands, which I remember was a big deal. I do wish he came with his Energon axe, but that's my only big complaint. I also made it a point only to get the Netflix version, because I really did not want the trailer. I remember people were saying there's no way that they'll ever release him without a trailer for all these reasons that they were making up, and then it happened, and I was very happy about that, because I did not plan on getting the regular release, and I quite like the dark colors on this release as well. Overall, it's a fantastic Optimus figure. It's pretty cool that he can kind of power links with other figures in a sense. Very reminiscent of the Unicron trilogy. He's very poseable. I love his little features like the opening hands and the inclusion of the Matrix. Then we have Impactor, who I don't have too much to say about. I think he's cool and unique. I think the mold looks great. I don't really know much about the character. I know he has a storied history in the comics, but my only exposure to him was in the show for War of Cybertron, and I guess he was kind of cool in the show, and he's a cool toy. Not much else to say. This Walgreens exclusive Ratchet I thought was fantastic. I love the white paint. He really pops on the shelf. I love the Cybertronian mode. I love how blocky it is and kind of tough, but still fitting to Ratchet's character, it feels. I love the weapons he comes with, and the silver on them is very striking. I'm very glad that I picked up this version of Ratchet and not the later Earth mode Ratchet. I find the Cybertronian version to be much more exciting, and it's a really fun mold. So fun, in fact, that I also picked up this dude. And this guy, of course, appears in some of the first frames of Transformers Armada as a character in the background on Cybertron. And so I kind of consider this guy an Armada figure almost, which is super exciting because I'm a big Armada fan. But he also looks great in his own right in his G1 incarnation, and I love the giant rocket launcher that he comes with. Another fun use of the mold, and I quite like his unique head. Then I have Silver Streak over here. I actually have Blue Streak, but I couldn't find him for this video. I have no idea where I left him. And I know that this guy is technically part of the Bumblebee line, but he first appeared, of course, as the traditional Smokescreen, Prowl, and Blue Streak, of which I picked up Blue Streak, and I quite like this mold as well. It's very simple, but it's just done right. It's a classic design in my opinion. Car hood is a chest, car wings, cool head, the shoulder rockets, a simple single gun as his handheld weapon. Everything about him is quite simple, but quite well done. While I'm on that description, I'll say the exact same thing about Sideswipe. A very, very simple design, just done very well. Very clean, no huge kibble, fun to transform, extremely poseable. He's got the gun in hand, well painted. I love this figure as well. Sunstreaker, on the other hand, is a little bit off. For one thing, the off yellow between different parts of him is a little frustrating. I don't like the faux part headlights that are on his feet because I just don't like faux parts in general. And his gun left a lot to be desired for me. Even if that is the gun he holds, I would have liked the inclusion of another one. It just doesn't feel like a gun at all, it just clearly feels like a part of the engine. And I think they could have given him a slightly more exciting weapon, especially because they milked this mold into like 4 repaints. Then we have Mirage. I have his Cybertronian mode, and I think his Cybertronian mode is really cool. I've heard people complain about this being a faux part, but I think it works well in his Cybertronian mode because who's to say that this is supposed to look like the tip of a race car? I mean, what does a race car look like on Cybertron, right? I think his Cybertronian mode is much more interesting than his Earth mode. I'm glad I got this version. I like the shoulder rocket, I like the head sculpt. The clear plastic's fun, even though it's a little bit scary. Yeah, I love this Mirage. Chromia, she's alright. I quite like her head sculpt. I like the weapon she comes with and how long it is and how it feels like a cool sniper weapon. But overall, she's just a slight tweak of the Power of the Prime's female bot, which is okay. It's definitely got its big kibble problems. It's not as bad as like Earthrise RC, who you can see I didn't bother getting. But yeah, she's okay. Well painted, interesting, cool head sculpt. Not too much to say about her. Huffer, I think, is quite charming. This is a character that I didn't really know closely because I'm not the biggest fan of G1, but after I got him, I really paid a lot of attention to him, and I love him. I love these silver arms, they look very nice. The gun he comes with is very cool. I think it's so cool how it splits apart into his vehicle mode. And his shield is really nice. And I love that both his shield and his gun change the function of his vehicle mode. I think that's really awesome. So even though it's kind of parts forming, it doesn't feel like parts forming. I mean, it feels like he's storing something in his vehicle mode that he then holds in robot mode. Instead of something like the entire roof of his vehicle becoming a shield, it feels much more unique. I think he's a pretty special figure for that reason, and I think it's also cool that he can haul Prime's trailer, even though I never got that Prime's trailer. Cliffjumper and this Bumblebee, who is the exact same mold from the Bumblebee 4-pack, they're pretty cool. I think it's disappointing though how the back is parts forming, especially because they're basically borrowing the engineering from the Masterpiece, and because they seem to have put a lot of plastic into the weapon. I would have much rather seen them make it a cleaner transformation without the parts forming, and give us less weapons, especially considering how small he is and how often he was repainted. I think he feels a bit cheap and underwhelming to me. And I know that he's small because they're trying to make it to scale. I'm not saying that he should be bigger, but I'm saying that given that he's small, given that they put so much money into the weapon, and given that they repainted him like a million times, I think their priorities were just misaligned. I would have liked a better transformation. Then we have Rat Trap, who I got. He's the Walmart version that came with the Optimus Primal 2-pack. He's pretty cool. Not too much to say about him. I love how posable he is. I'm very glad that he actually came with his weapon, unlike Deluxe Cheetor. I didn't bother buying Cheetor and a lot of the other Beast Wars figures because I was frustrated about the fact that they didn't come with weapons like that, but I was really happy with this way Rat Trap came out. I'm happy to have him with Optimus Primal, who I was really after. But yeah, he's nice. I'm glad I have him. Then we have this Bumblebee here from Origins Bumblebee. Technically not part of the line, but I feel like he definitely feels like a War for Cybertron Siege figure, given the whole Cybertronian vehicle mode motif. He is kibble galore. He makes kind of no sense, just like the show where he has all this kibble that looks like his beetle mode, but then he turns into the flying saucer. But given what they were trying to do, I think they pulled it off super well. I mean, he's got a lot of kibble, but his flying saucer mode is super nice overall and kind of elegant, fun figure. Then I have a lot of the Micromasters, the cassettes. I don't have too much to say about these guys. Most of the car ones are pretty forgettable. The NASA guys are pretty unique, memorable for that reason. These guys are probably my favorite just because I'm an Armada fan and they remind me of Minicons and the Star Saber. I put them into a stop motion because of it. I like them a lot. Figures like this guy just feel a little bit underpainted, although their gun mode is fine. These guys were a lot of fun. I bought two so I could link them together to make the ramp. Overall a fun idea, but probably would have worked better for something like Titan's Return where the figures turned into bases and you had more things to connect them to. And again, more forgettable, generic car vehicle guys. And so yeah, that is the War for Cybertron collection. It's definitely got its standouts for me, mostly Omega Supreme as a Titan, I would say. The Leader Optimus that we got in the Netflix version. The Optimus Primals are super cool. It's nice to finally have a version of those guys in my collection. The Siege Seekers are nice. And my boy, the overhated Siege Soundwave, I will defend forever. So yeah, thanks for checking out my War for Cybertron Trilogy collection. It was definitely a fun line to collect. It got me back into the brand in a way that the previous trilogy of lines definitely did not, and now I'm looking forward to more legacy figures, especially the Armada ones. So stay tuned for more Transformers content, and thanks for watching.